This is the Jamaica Selectboard meeting for Monday, July the 10th. It is now 7 p.m. We are off. First order of business, call for any late additions to the agenda. Anything late that was generated after I did the minutes?
Yes, Town Hall Committee from my meeting with the Preservation Committee,
I'm sorry, what's the?
I'm asking for us to talk about creating a Town Hall Committee after I spoke with the woman from the Preservation Agency or
Oh.
whatever, because we have a very important historical site, which is the Town Hall.
All right. We're gonna be busy tonight. Let's see if we can get that in at the end, okay? Because I think we've got a full evening.
Well, I would like you to try because she was very emphatic.
Is there a time frame on this for that?
There's work to be done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hearing no more, let's go into the first order of business is to approve the minutes of June 26th and the June 30th select board minutes. The first one is June 26th. This was the meeting we had at the town hall. There's a couple of pieces that I found, and then we'll entertain some more. In the first paragraph on the third page, from the sentence that starts, Londonderry Rescue is the last volunteer ambulance service in the state of Vermont that does not bill their parents. It says it costs $1,050. Actually, they receive a donation of. They don't charge us. There's no actual cost. It's a donation that we give them.
Well, 1,500.
And it's not quite. No, it's 1,000.
I thought it was 1,500.
No, it's more like 1,050.
You gave them 1,050, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I think the number's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the first line of the next paragraph, Drew Hazelton is not the chief operator, he's the chief of operations for rescuing. Halfway down that paragraph,
And that's also spelled
Say again?
incorrectly. The word chief is spelled incorrectly.
yeah, the
Yeah.
chief is ID. About halfway down, there's a sentence that starts ICU level treatment to definitive care on neighborhood. I'm not sure what that meant, but I'm pretty sure it's not ICU, so let's go EMT.
I think he did say
He did say
ICU.
ICU.
ICU?
It was just him describing the type of care that the EMTs actually give,
And compared it to.
comparing it to the Londonderry Rescue
I
Squad.
believe the ICU is probably the, from hospital to hospital.
It's critical care.
It's critical care is what it is. Londonderry Rescue does not do critical care. They do not do from facility to facility like Rescue Inc. does. They start out at the hospital with all the things that they need to take a critical patient
And
to
I was-
another level.
And I was
In
making
the
smaller
hospital.
sentences explaining what he was talking about.
I don't have any problem with the sentence structure, that's fine.
I
I'm just,
remember him saying that.
he said ICU, because I was reading this over, and ICU, of course, suggests a pretty intense level of treatment. Okay. Let's see, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth one down starts with Fred Hager. Go to the last sentence, and it says, Paul Fraser responded to the explanation that stated that the contract was made before this board was elected, and that they were taking advice from Stuart Barker. We weren't so much taking advice from Stuart Barker. Stuart Barker is our representative to the rescuing board.
Right.
So I'm not.
You were explaining that the contract that you guys, the town has with Rescue Inc., you guys were just kind of taking it from Stuart Barker because it was something that was done prior to you guys all being there.
It was
So,
taken from the
The
board.
previous,
He's a member of the board. It's from the board of directors that set that fee.
right. So how would you like me to word it if you? Because it was about him giving you the, I guess not advice, but giving you the ideas, yeah, to stay on the same contract that you've had prior to.
Yeah, see, that conveys a different idea. He's involved with the Rescue Inc. setting the price. Then Rescue Inc. tells us the price, and then we go with the contract. But Stuart's a representative to that board. I just
Right.
wanted to clarify that, because we weren't getting advice from him.
Oh.
We were just following,
He's like our liaison to
Yeah.
our
and
contract.
he's supposed to go from us to them. But
Right.
to make it clear, all the towns have a Stuart Barker of their own that they send to the meetings.
If they'll do it,
Yeah,
if they can get one.
yeah, if they can get one. And I think that's all I had.
You're
Anybody
not-
else have anything they wanted to?
You're not giving me how you want me to change it.
How about if we just drop the sentence after the board, we say it was made before the board was elected, period, then we can just drop that.
Okay,
That way we don't get in trouble with saying something that
That
we're gonna do a
doesn't
whole other paragraph and relating it again.
okay.
Yeah, I think that would work. And we're gonna call that ICU, keep that one off there. Any other corrections, additions, deletions?
I would like some clarification on when we vote. It gives the motion, who gave the motion, then it says second by the name, and then,
Which page are you on?
actually, all of the votes are this way. So, I'm using the first one as my example on the first page. And then it says underneath, Paul Fraser voted yes, motion passed. A person can make a motion and another person can second that motion, but the vote is a combination of the people. A person who makes a motion or seconds it doesn't necessarily have to vote yes when they are making a motion. And what it sounds like here is that the motion is made, seconded by Andy, and then only one person voted with yes. And that's not true.
Was this the minutes that, Lexi, you did not?
We're not on,
You
Is that the
voted.
I
one?
was not on this, I was not on the 26th.
Exactly, so she wasn't here.
So I have no
So you
idea.
said you vote, so it'd be 3-1.
Mhm.
It'd be
Yes,
majority.
it says 3-1 or something like that.
Just
It
the motion
doesn't
passed
say, Paul Fraser voted yes, or the next one down, Joel Blumen voted yes, and so forth. So, that's not the correct format. We
You'd like
do
to-
have to put who made the motion, who seconded, and then how the vote ended up.
And just, you wanted to just write the number of yes votes
Yeah,
without the names on it.
it passed with 3-1,
Right.
or it failed by 4-2 or something.
So we scratch the line where it says Paul Fraser voted yes and put that motion passed 3-1?
Yeah,
Or 3, because there was no negative vote.
Right.
yeah, whatever number it is. But it appears as if Paul Fraser was the only one who voted yes, and that Joel Blumen was the only one who voted yes. And we can make a motion or second it and still not vote for what we're motioning.
It would seem unusual to second something you
But
don't.
it's still,
Well, in
it's
case the discussion
Robert
would
rules.
sway your vote.
So,
right.
so you'd like her to scratch the line that says Paul Fraser or Joe Blooming voted yes, both of those two lines,
All of them, they're all that way.
Yeah.
okay?
Okay,
And then
and
just
then
say
just say
motion passed.
motion passed. I know some other
In this
notice
case, it
will
was 3-0.
not even make the number of, you don't even have to give the number.
Actually, this
and
is
just
4,
say motion
because Joel,
passed.
Andy, I, and I believe you all, we all voted yes. So she's the motion passed 4-0.
Yeah. You can just say motion passed. I don't even think you
The-
have to.
The reason I started doing that was because of the confusion that we all had during a couple meetings ago where there was not a third vote.
Right.
So I had to write in there that there's a third person voting.
But
So
you
that's why
see,
I started that.
You're assuming.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
No, I do, I completely get it. It doesn't make sense without putting in
So,
the actual numbers, yeah.
I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean about, without getting into it.
mhm.
Usually somebody, I wasn't at the meeting, but somebody does a motion, you second, discussion, vote yes or no.
Right.
And if there is 3-1 or whatever, and if everybody says yes, you just motion passed and that
Yeah.
takes care of it.
Right.
And that's simple.
And
Very
I heard
simple.
what you said about, the third one on page 2, where you abstained, then it was,
Yeah, you can put
3
one
to 1.
abstention. It doesn't even have to have the name of the person.
Right.
And when you abstain, that's a no vote. That goes to the negative, right?
I
An
don't,
abstention?
doesn't,
I don't think so.
yeah, it's hard to
It
do.
means that it's no vote at all.
Would it be a third category? Like
Yeah.
It is.
2 yes,
It's two.
one
right.
no, one abstain?
Correct.
Yes.
Right, so
Okay.
then it wouldn't carry because,
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't carry unless you've got 3 yeses, but it does count as a vote to the extent that we have the votes. Okay. Alrighty, and good, anything further? Yes.
So just for these minutes, do you want me to just write for, the change would be just to delete the yes voted and just leave it as motion passed, but from now on, put in the numbers or whatever?
Yes.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I think
Sounds like
that,
that will work.
Okay.
okay, excellent. Anything else? I would entertain a motion, therefore.
make a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
I'll second it.
Have a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain, I wasn't at the meeting.
1 abstention, so it passes with 1 abstention. The next select board meeting is for June the 30th. This is a special meeting held on June the 30th. I have a correction, and I think that's all. Second paragraph halfway down, saying, the sentence right after the 1470, it says, from Muzzy Legacy Fund to an individual who is 7 months behind in rent. Second by Judith Flower. It says further discussion ensued. Prior to further discussion ensued, let's include the paragraph, or the line rather. The chair rejected the motion as out of line, since the agenda item was only to establish guidelines, not to discuss specific cases, and only warned items could be acted upon during special meetings. I've given her that, so she's got a copy of what I just said.
Was the first part of that meeting, was that added in, or was that warned?
Which part?
No,
The first-
that,
The top
that
part?
was on the agenda.
Yeah, the agenda included 2 things. One was the real estate item, and the next one was the guidelines.
Right.
And that's the only thing I had. Anybody else? Hearing none? A motion to accept? Well, as I've learned in the last few weeks of reading into the weeds, apparently the chair can
Did you have a
motion
second?
to accept.
No.
Hmm?
Did you have a second?
No?
Motion for second? I mean, not in a motion, I second the motion,
Okay.
sorry.
Who made the motion?
I did. I didn't realize we do that, but I've been doing a lot of studying in the last couple of weeks. Okay, any discussion?
I read something from our attorney,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and I don't really want to get into all of that, but I didn't see anywhere where that specifically spoke to you couldn't talk about anything else. Except for what he said.
Well, he's the attorney, he writes the book. His statement said, in paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4 of the letter we received from Paul Gillies, who is our attorney, he says, let's go through the various issues that arose during the meeting. First, unless a matter is listed on the agenda of a special meeting, it can't be raised or decided. Which is pretty much what I said. And this is why we had to add this into this particular. You have that? You want this?
Well, here's what it says about special meeting online. It said, in such meetings, the board usually has a more limited agenda. That's it, that's all it says.
Well, we were doing usually a limited agenda. And then when they contacted our attorney, he said, quote,
I read the statute.
and that's what his interpretation is, it's not listed on the agenda of the special meeting and can't be raised or decided. Following his direction, we have another item that's coming up short, but at any rate, we're trying to fix the minutes.
Right.
So, we have a motion and a second, further discussion, any other discussion?
But that could be overruled by a vote.
It wasn't though. It
We're
wasn't.
just approving the minutes
It
right
wasn't
now.
though. So we're trying to approve the minutes. This was or was not an accurate reflection of what took place that night. Further discussion? All in favor of accepting the minutes as amended, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye, and opposed.
You're opposing them and you're opposing them. Andy?
I'm abstaining, but discussion is over, right?
Discuss.
Further discussion ensued that this issue could not wait until guidelines were in place as the individuals requesting funds was not to be evicted immediately. I just wonder how that made, I mean, there was a lot of things that were discussed. It puts a slant on the minutes, I think.
What does?
What I just said.
Yeah.
We can take those out.
But that was the discussion. I think she accurately.
There was a lot more discussion than that.
There was a lot of discussion. There was a lot of discussion. But for this purpose, we're talking about the minutes. Does this sentence I objected accurately reflect what took place?
It certainly didn't take place. It's
No,
accurate.
I said.
That part is accurate.
Okay, so that's what we're asking about the correction to the minutes. Is this sentence accurate?
You're talking about the sentence you're adding.
The one I just read.
No, the one he read was a sentence after what I added. I'm asking if this sentence I added reflects what actually took place.
Could you reread the sentence you added?
Well, I'd like to read more of it now, but that whole paragraph, where it starts with Joel Blooming advocated for the individual by giving the board a copy of, I don't really want to read all of this in public. That probably is public
It is
information.
public information.
Okay.
Yeah.
A copy of the individual's termination notice. After a much heated debate, the board started to outline the guidelines. Before the guidelines were established, okay, Joel Blooming made the motion to give X amount of dollars from the Muzzy Legacy Fund to an individual. That seems to me that should be in front of that, but, because that happened first. Then we did the guidelines.
Correct, we did the guideline, we were trying to do the guidelines, we got interrupted by the motion. The motion I rejected, it went through anyway, that's why I had to insert the sentence. And then the rest of it, we did the guidelines afterwards.
So the guidelines were not instituted until after the motion was made.
That's correct.
And
No, I
voted on.
remember,
Is that
to
correct?
interrupt, I remember saying, can't we just do this before we, I asked, can we do that, what he was asking before we set up the guidelines, and that started the heated discussion.
And the word heated is kind of editorial,
Right,
which shouldn't be.
well, that's what it says.
Yeah,
We can take that out.
I would take out
We
the
could
word
take-
heated.
It
because
puts a
it's-
slant on, believe me, I don't want to be charged with taking the minutes. But it puts
It would be.
sort of a slant on what Joel asked, a negative slant, but it's accurate. That's all I'm saying.
And that's what I'm asking, if you think this is an accurate reflection.
You know what, I didn't vote, but I would move to approve the minutes just to get beyond this.
So
I mean, there's already, you've
we've
already.
got two negatives, and if you're gonna move to approve them, that's 3, and then we will.
No, because you couldn't put everything in, there'd be 6 pages here.
Correct,
We're not getting
we're asking about
pages, sorry.
No, you know what I mean?
You don't have to put
No, I
everything that's
know,
written
I didn't
down.
want everything.
Basically,
in
you
there.
just have to put
The gist
the
of it.
motions and the gist of it.
Right.
Just the motions have to be put in.
I know.
And
All this other stuff can be left out.
This can be
My
referenced.
husband got in trouble for that.
This could be,
Leaving out.
we could reference these
We're
minutes on a
following
later
what you
date,
just
that's
said.
why I.
Right.
We're gonna need to reference them in one of the next
Right.
items we have to deal with.
I think we should get on with this.
So, we have 2 noes, 2 yeses, and you're,
I'll vote yes.
so these
To
motions,
pass them.
the minutes are approved as amended. And we will move on to the next items. Usual timesheets for town offices, Mr. Highway, transfer station, we'll do that at the end, so everybody doesn't have to wait for us. Item number 4, we're signing the select board orders at the same time. Item number 5, Lexi, do you have the,
No, I need.
you gave it back to me, right?
Mhm.
I have it right here then. We have a need that we've been putting off for a long time for carpeting in the town office. And so we've been trying to get it into the agenda now for several meetings, and it looked like we did get a shot at it tonight. And Lexi's gonna discuss that.
As you know, it's been many years since the addition was put on, and everything's getting worn and looks kind of tired and old. We've talked about replacing, should we do tile, should we do carpeting, and felt that carpeting, for the girls in the office, since they have to be there most of the time, felt that carpeting would be the best way to go. We won't be taking out the tile because has asbestos in it, and it would be a very costly thing to do. And the fellow that came in, Lawton Flooring, came in and said they can put it right over it, whatever they have to do, and take care of it without touching any of it. None of the asbestos will be removed or anything like
Would
that.
that be considered mitigated? In other words, that the asbestos is sealed?
It's all sealed, right?
Yeah.
It's not, it won't come up or anything. So, the office space, which is where the girls are in the office, the carpet, the cost is $2,183.59. And I'll give you that information later if you want, April. The lobby is this little part right here. And that's another carpet, and that's $1,170.37. And that carpet is going to be I didn't speak to the fellow, but Pam and Terry were telling me that it's gonna be a heavy-duty carpet, so that when it's snowing out or whatever, it can handle any dirt, snow, and stuff like that. It's gonna be a little bit better. It's for that. They've put that in places in other buildings instead of tile. The lister's office, and that's $1,038.43. Whoops, I'm sorry, the lobby, I messed up on the lobby. The lobby is the middle one, where people come in and come to the counter.
Yeah, there's a foyer lobby.
So this
office.
one is the entryway. The entryway is $791, and that's gonna have that special heavy-duty, durable entry, they call it tiles, but some kind of a carpeting. And they haven't picked out the colors yet because this hasn't been approved. We tried to get 3 estimates, and Kevin was called 3 different places, and Lawton Flooring was the only one that got back to us with estimates. And she did try and left messages with 2 or 3 other folks, and they did not call back. So if you'd like to look at those and see what it entails.
I remember talking to Manchester Carpet, like, how long ago was that when we first, a year, 2 years ago?
It's been a long time we've been talking
I
about
thought that
that.
they were gonna send an estimate.
They've never sent anything, and I believe she's got your contact with them too.
I've seen it.
Because the total would be about
What is the total?
$5,000. I didn't add it up, about 5,000.
We have the option of doing all of it or pieces of it, so we have some choices.
Right,
And that doesn't include in here.
not yet,
No.
no.
Is this asphalt?
This is probably
Asbestos.
North Island.
Asbestos?
It probably is, because all that was done.
It's all done at the same time, huh?
As including this?
No.
No. Because
Well,
this
that-
looks like the tile that's in the post office, and that's not asbestos.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not sure what this is.
okay.
Let's see it.
money be coming from? Do you have any idea?
We have, building fund and maintenance for maintenance and upkeep, and I should have asked Terry for that amount. I don't have it with me. I can always email it to everybody, but I know we have ample money in it for this, because we haven't spent money, on the inside of this building for a long time.
Nobody else wants another bid?
I would like another bid.
Yeah, so would we. I was talking to Pam again today, and she has put out the phone calls
I know
and
she did.
called everybody she could, and nobody's responding.
I believe Manchester
So-
one, yeah, that.
Yeah, we don't know why. It's
It's
just,
pretty, I mean, it's not like it's a really small job.
Yeah.
No, I
$6,000
mean,
doesn't sound like a small job to me.
And it doesn't include this space, so then this is another space.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
probably the carpeting is an expense because it's indoor, outdoor, whatever they're gonna call it.
right.
yeah, the
I mean,
foyer
we
right
can,
there.
I can ask her to contact. Try
I
the
know
ones that
that.
did not get back to her.
I know that Pam tried to call Manchester twice.
have we considered carpet tiles like they use at Stratton? I mean, they take a
Part of
lot
it.
of abuse.
Is that,
I don't know, I didn't talk to the gentleman that came here. I believe it might be the entryway, that might be the heavy-duty carpet
yeah,
tiles.
those really take a
They can take a
beating in that
beating.
door, I mean, but there's probably some municipal carpet
Right.
that they've got in mind.
It's called heavy-duty entry tiles,
Tiles.
Those are those tiles.
so that must be the heavy-duty. And the other ones are, they call it carpet tile, but I assume that carpet tile
Probably
means,
indoor, outdoor, short
Carpeting,
pile, short
not just
pile
little-
carpet.
but we can get further information if you'd like. I'm more than happy to.
I'm all for carpeting, the carpet. I can't believe people aren't, interested in bidding
Well,
on that.
So what's your pleasure? I'm sorry, but we've got to
I
move
think
on
it's
with
a good
this.
idea to get another.
more,
bid.
okay.
Just, we kind of try to do that all the
How
time.
far have we reached geographically? We could-
Brattleboro, Manchester, and I think
Bennington's another one.
I think she might have done Bennington.
What
I'll
about
check.
Rutland,
Yeah,
maybe?
I don't know. Let me,
I was thinking Rutland too.
Bennington Furniture and Carpet, they do.
okay, I know Lawton Flint.
Bennington tile does carpet.
I bump into those guys once in a while.
And then I'd like to, if we do other people, I'd like to get, to see who they've done so we can call them and see if they're happy with, if their
Yeah,
work. I
that's
know
a good
Lawton does a lot and I've seen their work. They did the courthouse and they do a good job. So I want to make sure that we have good references if we go to the other ones. Okay, so we'll make sure that that gets taken care of.
So we will, we'll
We'll take care of it.
take care of that,
Mhm.
and get the other stuff chased out.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So number 6. As I mentioned earlier, we had a letter from Paul Gillies, and the first line of the letter from Paul Gillies says, Jamaica should adopt an ordinance on conflict of interest. So what I've done is I got in touch with, we took the VLCT as a template for conflict of interest, and Terry changed the names of all the,
I have one.
yeah, I sent all these things to you online,
Yeah.
but I brought them in case you didn't have them. And so this is the conflict of interest that VLCT has put together and has shared with most of its members. So I sent it to you guys so you had a chance to look it over. If you had any questions about how to proceed with this, we have it in front of us.
I did a little homework, and I called VLCT and talked with the lawyer who was on duty today, and I asked him about what the procedure would be for having this as, let's see, what's the great word. It's not a policy. You're asking for what now? I don't-
This is the conflict of interest policy.
No, there's a difference between policy and ordinance.
Correct.
And what he suggested, number one, either way, that we have a lawyer look over this before we sign it to make sure it's all right. And he said that when it becomes an ordinance, it is a very complicated piece of legislation that we would be doing.
Right.
And it requires sending the information to different newspapers. We have to put it around 5 different places within the town. And he said if it's a policy, then you can do that at your meeting. So I'm confused about whether it's becoming an ordinance or a policy.
It's the policy, and it's the policy that was written, with the exception of where we put the words Town of Jamaica in it, this is written by the LCT law
I
department.
understand that.
So to send it back to them to look at it again seems a little redundant since they wrote it, but this is the policy, not the ordinance.
Okay,
I think if we choose in the future, one of the ways of doing the ordinance is to present it at town meeting. That's one of the ways to go about doing that.
yes,
Probably, we may or may not choose to do that later on, but this right here is the policy.
yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And that's kind of what I put together because that was what was available.
Okay, except the word ordinance was used in literature that I got. from
And
you.
then I agree, there's literature that says ordinance and then the policy. And so we have a choice.
Okay. The other thing I also found out was that by 2020, all legislative bodies like us, municipal bodies, must have a conflict of interest policy. So we, by doing this, is actually ahead of the game. However, he said that it's a little bit more complex, that particular requirement that's coming up, than probably the one that we are using. And he said you may just want to do that now to cover the field so you don't have to do it when it's coming up in a year and a half. So, and that's why he very strongly advised us to really have somebody, even though this comes from VLCT, is to take it to our town lawyer and have him look over it before we sign it.
Early in this week, I looked at the charter that we passed, and I believe there are words, although I don't remember them, about conflict of interest in the charter, so we should review that. Because if that's the case, we already have a conflict of interest.
Yeah, and probably it's not going to match what they're requiring in the future, working now. But that's my recommendation, is that we really kind of follow up and decide what we're going to do and whether we're going to meet the requirements that's coming down the pipe, or, but at any rate, have this looked at before we do anything.
Why don't we also, maybe not tonight, but
Just
actually
wait for.
read the thing together and go over it line by line.
Yeah, put
I'm gonna speculate, I don't know for sure, but I bet she just went to get our charter. You didn't bring it with you?
No, I didn't.
Or is it all pages?
No, it's not that long.
I'm not arguing against
Right.
no conflict of interest. I don't want you to misunderstand me. But I think that we need to give it a little bit more attention than to quickly just do it.
One of the biggest differences I found between the policy and the ordinance is the ordinance includes some, I don't use the word punishment, but that's what they're talking about.
Yes,
They have it built in.
exactly.
Repercussions, that's a better word than punishment. Punishment's good, I like it. Well, this does not, but this does outline basic conflict of interests, and it gives us a basis for all of us to be able to speak to the issue without actually getting involved with going to the town meeting and having an ordinance passed with all the ramifications that that entails. But you're right, there's two different kinds of, the one it says policy, and that's what I'm calling. And
Yeah,
like I said, it's
but-
written by the
But of course,
VLCT.
he is really saying, Jamaica should adopt an ordinance on conflict, and then he went on to justify his reasoning.
Sure.
So, that's when I thought, whoa, wait a minute, there's a lot you have to do for an ordinance. So that's when I called and found out that this probably, even though we had this letter from Gillis, that we're probably looking at a policy and not an ordinance.
That, and the other piece of the difference between policy and ordinance is, they talk about what we do here, and then they talk about quasi-judicial decisions. When you get into the quasi-judicial decisions, there's a lot more structure and restrictions. The same basic idea, if you have a conflict of interest, you don't participate, but there are ramifications for failing to acknowledge that. And that is because of the quasi-judicial, and those proceedings generally involve somebody's rights, whether we're taking away a road or a property or whatever's being done. And if you do anything that interferes with somebody else's rights, then the ordinance is far more robust, let's say, to deal with that. But this is a guidelines for the procedures that we've been doing primarily around here, and on a usual basis, it seemed like a good idea.
I think bottom line for me is I don't want to decide tonight. I want us to really look it over and discuss it and have it looked by our lawyer. That's the bottom line for me.
Okay?
I would like to have discussion with the town lawyer about it, about the ramifications of each line item.
Yeah. If that's what the rest of the board would like to do.
It seems a little redundant and expensive to have the lawyer go over what the lawyer wrote, explain it line by line, and it's in English. But let's see what Ed Bell wants. Lex, you're looking for something.
I have the charter, and we do have, it does talk about conflict of interest in our charter. So it's not like we don't have a conflict of interest, but I don't know if we need something further or not. That would be a question to our town
Did
attorney.
Paul Gillis see this charter before it was,
Oh, yes, he helped me, us,
So
town.
that one.
so
Oh,
he
yeah.
should know that it exists?
He'll know that,
I
he
think-
will know it.
We could reference this thing, but I certainly wouldn't want to adopt it right now.
Yeah.
I just
that's-
read some of the fine print on, we were elected by the voters and, about forcing recusal. It's pretty wordy,
Yeah.
the little side notes. I'm totally not
There's also-
prepared to sign.
There's
anything.
also probably gonna be a conflict of interest in every case, if you're in a small town.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
everybody knows everybody.
And that's one of the things that the lawyer that I was talking to said today, is when you're in a small town, it's just because we live next to one another. It's not like going up to Montpelier where we're traveling 100 miles away or whatever. So, but that's where I'm at. I agree with Andy that I really don't want to do any signing tonight. I would like to look over it. I think what Joel is saying is for us to discuss it and look at it. And it won't take that long to go ahead and do that.
Do you have the text of our charter's conflict of interest policy?
What reads here, I would rather the lawyer explain to me, because the wording is, it's
Okay.
hard to decide.
Oh, we have one.
To make sure that we do have conflict of interest in
I
the
think
charter.
a lot of it is common sense. I had to step away from a couple of different things on my own. Like when the houses went in the drain on my street, or people lost their houses, I should say. And I remember Alexa sort of asking me till she was the chair to step back and just I didn't vote because I was all for it. It was all my neighbors who went into they lost their homes, so. And then lately, on my own, I was invited to bid on the interior of the town, well, on the town garage, as I have a business, painting business. And I have, every right to,
You have every right.
every right to bid on that. I didn't have any privy to any information that any other contractor had, but I just stepped away just in case. I got it,
Right.
you know, I probably could have got it,
But in a small town, that's very often.
but I wasn't
Yeah,
comfortable with,
That is a major problem living in a small town.
with that maybe coming back at me for some reason or another. I wanted to, would have been a nice job to do. But anyway, it's just some common sense, I think. Until we sign something official. So I'd rather we just didn't do anything with this right now.
Since we're so sort of up in the air on this issue, do you think it's best to have Paul Gillies look at our charter again?
Well, if we've got something in the charter,
I do have something, but I wanna read.
let's him compare
Compare that with this.
with the policy we
I think
have.
the policy is the way to go rather than an ordinance. It's like a personnel policy, a personnel policy is not an ordinance, and I think if we can do that, we should go this way. And we're just gonna have to be a little bit more, before we adopt something, take into consideration the conflict of interest, common sense wise. I know like Julie says, we know people close by and stuff. As long as I've been on the board, I've never run into an issue like this before. Things seem to kind of work out and whatnot. But times have changed, and things are a lot different than they were when I first started. Yeah, it seemed like a gentler and kinder world back then. Now it's a very,
We're a litigated society.
it's not litigated, it's people not wanting to get along with each other, and it's very, very upsetting to me. So I think we ought to just talk to a lawyer on that.
Okay, so the consensus of the board is to contact Paul Gillies and have him compare this to the existing charter. Correct?
Sure.
Right, do you need that in a motion?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Just for clarity's sake, I'm gonna say, have Paul Gillies compare the new policy as proposed with the existing charter.
And also maybe have him look at where we're going to be, because if we can do it now for the one that's coming up in 2020, we could be ahead of the game. Because I think there's a slight difference in language.
There's a major difference between policy and ordinance.
Yeah, I
Clearly
know
there
that,
is.
I know that.
There it is. All right, so if that works for everybody? Any other thoughts? So we'll have that started. All right, so next item is number 7. This pertains primarily to the addition I inserted in the minutes. The item reads, correct the action taken at the special meeting regarding the individual gift approved from the Muzzy Fund. Quoting again from Paul Gillies, I would recommend that the board take this up again, back again, repeating. Unless a matter is listed on the agenda of a special meeting, it can't be raised or decided. I would recommend that the board take this up again at a meeting where it is an agenda item, treating the recent decision as not binding. Deciding it without a protocol or guidelines for the Muzzy Fund, when you're talking about developing them, sounds as though the decision was made prematurely, even aside from the open meeting law issue. So, any thoughts, discussion?
I have a statement to make. Late in May or early June, the subject was facing a possible eviction. He is a friend, neighbor, and fellow veteran.
before you get started on that, we are not litigating individual gifts. We're talking about the item that we did last week, which is out of line. What we're trying to do is,
You're talking about it being out of line, and that's your opinion, and of course you're entitled.
this is the legal opinion from our attorney.
That's an opinion, but not an order. And I
Are
would
you
like
gonna violate it again
I would
tonight?
like to read this statement.
I would like to stick to the agenda.
This is part of the agenda.
The
We're
agenda
discussing- You're
is to not
discussing.
do what you're doing now.
No, you've prevented me from doing this since this began. I have asked for the vote for this specific award for weeks and weeks, and you've refused to put it on the agenda.
We are going to
This
follow a
is,
protocol. We
this
need
is,
guidelines and
there
protocols.
is a protocol. There
All right,
is
so what
already
I'm
a
saying is,
protocol.
you're going to continue to violate the agenda rules,
I'm not gonna violate any.
because this is not on the
I'm
agenda.
reading something
It's
to
not
you
on the agenda.
that's part of this discussion.
It's
Since
not
it was voted on
On
and
the agenda.
approved.
That
You're
was
out of
a
order.
vote.
You're out of
Oh,
order.
for crying out loud.
I
Moving on
have something to say.
moving on to number 8.
I,
We have a request from property owner's attorney for assistance with a real estate issue regarding the Rybolt property on 30 Water Street. I sent, I believe, you all seen the request. Part of the difficulty with the request is that it's asking us to do something we really aren't prepared to do, I don't think, as a select board.
I have a question.
Sure. Well, is it pertaining to this issue?
No, it pertains to the last issue.
I think the last issue went to bed.
How do you get to have, you seem to put what's on the agenda, and you control these meetings, and you've been controlling this and keeping this from being voted. That's not fair. You don't have that right to do that.
The agenda rests with the chair. The chair's responsibility is to follow the correct, the proper
So
procedures.
he can't request to be put on the agenda, and you won't, and you just ignore his, as a member of this thing?
We need to follow the procedures. He doesn't want to
Procedures
follow
is set up
the
for
procedures.
you to pull your own.
Had we followed the procedures from the beginning, this whole thing might have been over. But it's not. It's dragging out because we can't seem to stick to the procedures.
Okay, town meeting.
Hey, time out, before we get into this, I have time for public concerns. I'd like to get the business meeting
I'd
done
like to
first.
talk about it now.
I would like you to wait until it had the time.
You had 8 items and you voted on them at town meeting.
Sir,
You've had 3 items on this
Sir.
last one and you couldn't vote on that.
sir, you're out of
You
order.
just keep putting it off.
You are out of
This
order.
is not right.
You are out of, we have time for public concerns. We need to get business done first.
does
We're gonna follow the
anybody
procedures.
want me to read this statement?
I do.
It doesn't
Does
matter.
anybody else want me to read this
There is a
statement?
law on how this manages.
Come up with the law,
Before.
show me the law. Put it in writing.
It's in writing.
Late in May or
Hold
early
it,
June.
I don't think you should read that. I think that we should go back to the agenda item.
And I'd like to go into executive session on this. I found out some more information on it that I'd like to, because it involves an individual and it shouldn't be, what
That's
I have
not
to
on
say
the
shouldn't be
It's
made.
not on the agenda, however. But
But you've resisted putting it on the agenda.
I have not.
You
resisted.
have
I've
begged
been
me to put it on
going
the
to
agenda.
do
You have, each time I've requested it to you, in public and in private, each time I've requested it to you to make this vote, you have rejected it and not allowed it. And that is not your position. You control the order of the agenda, but it's not your right to suppress something that wants to be brought up.
You are violating the agenda. You're
There's no violating.
You did last week.
There's no violating. There was no violating last week. That was your opinion.
And the opinion of our attorney.
And then we voted, and we passed something. And you are allowed to disagree with the agenda by a vote, and we voted in the majority.
No,
Yes?
No, you
yes,
did not
it was
vote.
in the majority.
you did not vote. You did
There was a
not
motion. Read
vote.
it. Don't raise your voice.
You did not vote to overturn my rule.
No, we
You just
voted,
went around
we
it.
voted to, yeah, I did.
Yeah, well, you can't do that.
Well, I did it.
There are procedures we have to follow. Yeah, you
You
did it.
make up the procedures as you go along.
I follow the rules.
You made up, there's a
I follow the
procedure.
book.
there's
Okay,
a-
gentlemen, stop,
I
right
follow
now.
Yeah.
I think that we may have pretty much exhausted the, this item. I'd like to move on to number 8, which is the Rybolt property. I think I mentioned that. That is the discussion that's on the table right now. Here's what took place. We have a letter from Oops. We have a letter from the attorney for the Rybolt family. Mr. Rybolt would like to have a change to the Board of Abatement of Taxes that was conducted back in March of 2012. Mr. Rybolt asked that we abate his taxes. The Board of Abatement did so because of the damage done by Irene. Now they're asking us to make a change in that. It's unclear, except that I have what she's asking us to do. I don't think the Select Board has the authority to change anything written by the Board of Abatement. So my hope would be that she would address this to the appropriate authorities, and that would be to send a letter to the Board of Abatement, speaking to the issues that she would like to have corrected.
Did the town, back during Irene, did anyone on the board change, was the deed changed or anything to call that place uninhabitable?
We actually, how that became, we had a letter from Mr. Rybolt
He said,
saying that it was,
he said it.
he
How
said,
come it's coming back on us that we
This
said
is,
it?
this is what I understand happened.
you're interrupting, please wait. So what took place was,
Jesus.
we are now getting a request because they have a buyer for the property.
Right.
And the property it's hard to do that with a statement saying there's no septic system.
Who said that?
He did, the owner. He said the septic was destroyed in his letter.
Right.
And so the Board of Tax Abatement abated his taxes and for the period of time and lowered his tax rate since whatever it was, 2011, 2012, whatever this was. So now there's a request coming that we change the statements in the letter of abatement, which I don't believe we as a select board have the power to do.
We can't do that.
And I think that needs to be addressed to the Board of Abatement. Because we don't have the power to change what they did. That is, the Board of Abatement really is a function of the Board of Civil Authority, and that group makes a decision. While we are members of the Board of Civil Authority, we don't dictate to the Board of Civil Authority what they should and should not do, especially to go back and undo something they've already done.
What did you hear, Joel?
Let's-
If you don't mind me
Yes.
asking.
No, I prefer you asking, otherwise I won't be able to get it in.
Because I've been
The
hearing,
information I
I've heard
have,
a lot
the
of it.
information I have is that the septic system was destroyed in terms of being uncovered.
I thought.
Right, we all saw it.
It
I
was-
got
it
a lot
was
of
torn
time to
apart.
watch it too. And the reason he asked for the tax abatement, from what I understand, is because the bridge company was using his property and he couldn't. And he was prevented from repairing it at that point. That's only a little bit of information that I don't have all the data on. He made a mistake in how he submitted it. But since then, the septic system has been repaired, and there is certification that it's been repaired from, I think it was Door, some company.
Okay, Dor, not to interrupt you, I don't need to.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in kissing match with you.
Especially with me in the middle.
I'll back up.
No, that's not, I don't like that at all. Dor is a company that cleans out septic systems and stuff like that. They're not really a certification to say there's a I understand where you're coming from, but we need, I believe the town needs something from the
This
state,
is it, there is nothing. The state approved it.
but they have
They
to,
don't issue a paper. So, because she asked me if I would bring it into the select board, I'm surprised she's not here.
because the state takes care of. all
But
the
she's
septic
approached the
systems.
state and she said, we don't have a permit system for this, it's okay, it's good. And then she had Door come in and clean it and certify that it was flowing properly.
The only time we need to know about a permit, and I hate to get into this, is my experience as a health officer, is if a leach field is being compromised. If there's an existing septic,
This isn't funny, Alan, okay?
there's an existing septic.
This is a very serious thing that we're
And-
doing here.
Yeah, but we're hurting this guy. He wants to sell his house.
Well, we
He's
don't
got-
have people sitting
he's
there
got-
laughing at us.
He's
I'm not
got,
laughing at you.
he's laughing at the circumstance.
So what?
The guy is trying to sell his house. He made a mistake originally in the wording. He couldn't use his house, and he felt that he was entitled to not have to pay taxes because he couldn't use it. Now it can be used.
As of what, do you know?
It was in 2016, I believe, that door came.
No, that's when the door came, I wanna know when you found out you could use it.
Well, firstly, the people who built the bridge had it in their order to cover the system.
Do we have that one?
You could go to Basin for that.
Can you produce it?
Yeah, but why do we care?
That's my point.
The point is, why do we care?
We don't have the power to do this.
We have the power to do this. We can
No,
just
we
take it.
don't.
No, we don't.
Can't.
Well, we have the power to move it forward. We
should-
have the power, if we need to order a meeting of.
We need something from Basin, something that either they paid to have a septic system put in.
Like, just,
You have a
let's
system,
encapsulate
you
this here for
have
a
a
second.
system that.
The attorney
Let me finish this
for, you
sentence.
finished. The attorney.
No, I'm
could
not
have
finished, don't be
Gone
ridiculous.
forward.
We have a
with the
statement
proper-
from Door
Door
that
doesn't
says that it's tested and accurate, and it works. We have that statement from Door.
It does not say it works.
And she, yes, it does.
If you read it, it doesn't. It says it's got all these things, but it doesn't say it's functional. And they're not licensed to say it's functional. This could have
So
been,
you wanna be on record now.
I want to be on record as saying the
Saying that this
procedure
guy
is,
can't sell his
this
house.
goes to the.
This guy can't sell his house.
Folks,
This
boys,
is how to go to
boys.
the right people.
Boys,
Boys.
men.
Karen,
You have to act like men if you want to be called men.
Yes, that's true. That's true, but men do debate.
So,
And
I
these
think
two
it
men are
has,
debating,
I'm not sure that the select board can make this decision. I think it has to go to the board of abatement.
in
That's
which we are
correct.
part of, so we can facilitate calling a meeting of the Board of Abatement.
Don't
We
we
have
have
it, and it has to meet
their request.
We have one coming up, correct?
Yes, we can add to that already. We've
But I
already
believe
tested
they,
it.
I believe they have to
Yeah.
request it.
And it has
Do
to
the
be
board.
warned, I think.
It
Right.
has to be warned and it has to be a
So we
request
can't
from
do it
you.
at this
It
now.
could be the next day. We can warn a meeting to take care of this.
No.
I
We have the
don't
power
think
to
so.
take care of a meeting.
That, as you pointed out, belongs to the, we are a member of the Board of Sewer Authority. The owner needs to petition
The Board
for
of Abatement,
the
right.
Board of Abatement for two things. One of which is, okay, we now want you to say it's okay. Now, we go back to when it was okay, and maybe we all ought to pay the taxes we've not been paying for the last 6 years. The point is, that's not for the select board to decide.
If the owner could send a letter to the board of abatement.
That's all. that
Right,
we
and
need.
then we could
So
have,
he-
then would,
This request was made in October, and he could have been advised in October to send a letter.
but he didn't ask to have it abated after.
His attorney didn't arrive.
Realizing it.
Right,
She had a place on the agenda on the 24th of October, she did not come.
and wasn't she supposed to be here today?
That was my understanding, because you asked me to get her place at tonight's meeting.
I did.
Yes.
I can't be responsible for the fact that she didn't come. I just want to see it facilitated that this man could sell his house.
I'd love to see that. I'd
Somehow.
like the proper
So
procedures.
since we represent the people of the town, it's up to us to say, this is what we have to do, and do a little proactive work to help him sell the town. We may not be able to sign an illegal law.
I don't think that's our job. I'm
Our
sorry.
job is-
The owner needs to send a letter, and
Yeah,
I think
fine.
that's where it's at, right?
Right,
Okay, so
Okay.
let's notify the owner to send a letter.
Or let him know.
or his lawyer should.
I don't know.
His
that-
lawyer should be
Lawyer
here
has
to
The town
explain
has
to
to
her.
notify.
Are you
can't.
his advocate?
I can't speak for his lawyer.
We can't be in the middle of it.
You spoke for his lawyer to me.
I spoke to telling you the details to facilitate this happening.
Yeah,
I asked you if you responded to her email.
and I
You
did.
said no. You said you hadn't. You looked it up, you read it, and you said, okay, and you sent her an email. I was there. You sent her an email requesting certain information. She sent back an email. From there on in, I wasn't involved with it, but that's what happened up until then. I can't say why she's not here. So all I'm saying is that as a select board that represents the town's best interests, that we should facilitate, as Karen says, we should advise his lawyer to advise him to send a letter. It's not so hard.
If his lawyer had been to the meeting in October, she would have got that
I
information.
can't help
But
that.
that's all done.
My point
So
I can't
is-
help
now,
that. I
No
can't-
problem. To whom do we address that letter?
To his lawyer.
She's not here.
Well, send a letter. Send an email.
To whom? To her?
To his lawyer, she's representing him.
Need to see the request. You don't just generally do those kinds of things.
That's her now.
Yeah.
She should know this.
Yeah,
And-
she should know.
This is, So,
You're in
the item on-
contact her then.
the item on the
Okay.
agenda is the request from the property owner's attorney. We are responding to this by, would you like the chair to write a letter to his attorney to
I
explain
think I
that
would
she
just-
needs to go to the other one?
She wasn't at the meeting tonight.
That's
If I was you, I would send her an email, because you've been doing things through email, just saying, you know, the board cannot make that decision. Your client will have to send a letter in writing to the Board of Abatement to request a hearing.
And you did expect her to be here?
Yeah.
Yes, she was supposed
I
to.
would, in that letter, or maybe another thought is, we missed you the other night at the board meeting, and wondering how we should proceed.
Well, no, we're gonna tell her how to proceed.
Oh,
I mean, to
that's
tell her
her
what
job.
we need.
I'm a little irritated with, this is about the 4th time she's been on here.
Well, certainly she was on for the October 24th because they researched that.
I've read at least 3 or 4 correspondence from you
Yeah.
about the Rybolt, right, and every time.
There's been a lot.
I've asked you what it's about.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of communication.
Usually nothing to do with us.
That's what we needed to explain that to her. I thought in a civil fashion, but she's not here. So,
Right, just send her an
I'll
email
send her
and
an
just
email.
tell her that, you know, that's what her client has to do.
Just,
perhaps somebody could answer a question for me that I'm not clear on. In the door septic, the septic inspection was ordered by somebody whose name was Kevin Dingus. Do we know who that is?
I don't.
Nobody knows. So we don't know who ordered the evaluation, do we?
I assume the attorney ordered the evaluation, but I don't know that for a fact.
No, I found the name Kevin Dingus, but didn't connect to my head of who that belonged to. I want to make sure I get this worded correctly so I don't have to rely on my memory. Do you really want me to put in about?
no.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion on the Rybolt property? Number 8.
Maybe that should take care of it.
Just that someone approached me yesterday while I was out in my yard and accused a past board member of putting something in the deed that made it uninhabitable. And I can tell you right now, the only way that would happen is if the town health officer and the Jamaica Board of Health put a public, like a safety, condemn the place. And I never heard of anything like that.
No, we've never condemned that.
It's because there's none of our,
But I remember what happened then, and I don't think I want to repeat it out of executive session. Because it might hurt somebody.
So, absent a move to go to executive session, the next item is you requested a discussion of the payment of select board members' fees for courses.
Yes. I don't know if there's a written rule about how they're paid for, but when I came on the select board, I was told that if I took courses, that they would be reimbursed. Nobody ever explained the procedure, so I did take the course. And I would just like to see something in writing that explains how select board members or other people who are entitled to be paid for courses to be a definitive principle. How do we pay for them so I know in the future how to apply for them?
Usually when,
Is that somewhere in writing?
I don't believe it's in writing.
So that we could
It's-
put it in
Can I
writing.
finish?
We're both talking at the same time.
We had a conversation this
We did.
morning, and
It was a
I thought we
We did.
kind of cleared things
And I
up.
agree.
You never asked me if there was anything in writing.
No, I'm asking now that we put it in writing.
We don't have anything in writing, but in the past, as it goes way, way back, it might be something in writing. I did call Bonnie West and asked her if there was something in writing, and she's been out for a while, so she doesn't remember. But in the past, if a new member came on, they would, as I told you earlier, I don't know where you got your information from. I'm not gonna say that you didn't get it, so I will excuse you this time. That we just everybody just signs up for all these courses and we just kept paying and paying. We have a budget, we have to abide by the budget. We encourage select board members to go to the conferences and lectures if they wish to. We usually get things in the mail, so they can be brought to the board meeting and say, okay, there's a conference here, is anybody interested in going? But now with all the computer stuff, a lot of things get missed, and they just go to the board members, and it forgets to be brought to the board to say, oh, okay, any money that's taxpayers' money that's gonna be spent should be asked. A new member should kind of ask questions and not just assume that things happen. I would like to, on that note, make a motion that we adopt a policy that no member of this board shall make any binding financial decisions, such as that, without a vote of the majority of the board, made at a duly warned meeting, without express authority of the board.
I second that motion.
So we can have a policy based on that motion. In this way, if anybody wants to go on, take a course or spend money or whatever, it has to go through the board. If the girls in the office have something come up, they say, okay, this is coming up. Listers, they're on their own, they have their own budget and they take care of that. But as for the select board, and then the money, we belong to VLTC, we are a member, and there's a member fee and there's a non-member fee. And the check is usually sent from the town office, from the treasurer, to VLTC or wherever the class is being held or the course is being held. So it was never really in writing, it was just something that is probably in the law somewhere that, I think common sense, like I told you, you're an educated man, you know this, use common sense before you start.
That's
Can I just share some experience?
That's bordering on.
Can I just share a little experience since I've been on the board?
Sure,
As
we have a
the town-
second
as the-
of a discussion.
Is there a second?
Yes, he seconded a second discussion.
As the town health officer, I asked Terry, what's the deal with going to the seminars? There was no fee. I've been to 2 of them because they were 2 different ones, about 2 different things, and I was reimbursed for mileage to and from. And I know that we get, because we're members of the VLCT, we get a discount if there is a charge, and mileage, maybe.
If somebody puts in for mileage, they can
Yeah.
get mileage.
So that's, I don't really need anything in writing. If I thought I had to go to one of these, it was gonna help me on this board or as THO, I would ask, I would say, I'm
Common
going,
sense.
I'm going. Or I'd ask Terry,
Right, but if the ones that are free, yes, you can go and you can
Right.
get your paid mileage.
some of them are
But the
$40 to
ones that
$60.
are money that's being spent should be requested by the board.
Okay, may I say something? Some good discussion. Our town of Jamaica procurement policy includes the following. First of all, the definition I'm going to refer to is incidental purchases. Those purchases calling for delivery of goods or services in the amount of less than $500. The paragraph reads, incidental purchases may be accomplished without the solicitation of bids or quotations. However, if practicable, quotations should be solicited. The chair of the select board or his or her designee shall act as purchasing agent for incidental purchases. As with regular purchases, incidental purchases shall be accomplished in a manner consistent with procedures adopted by the select board. Purchases between $100 and $499 shall be documented with a purchase order and entered into the accounting system. All purchases equal to or greater than $500 for a single order shall be documented. Blah. All right. When in the best interests of the town, it is necessary to provide additional documentation to ensure the specificity of the material or service being purchased, a written contract should be prepared and used to authorize the purchase. So when we're talking about items less than $500, we have a procedure in the procurement policy.
That's
that the-
already in, it's on the books, that's
It's
what
in
you're
the procurement
reading.
policy, it says, the chair of the select board or his or her designee shall act as a purchasing agent for incidental purchases.
Okay, that's the purchasing agent, is that the one who gives a yay or a nay?
Yes.
I think those are two different things.
What?
What I'm hearing is that you say whether a person can go or not.
What I'm saying is
When
the
I
chair
hear what,
acts as the
just
purchasing
a minute,
agent.
I'm finished,
Mhm.
okay? What I hear Lexa saying is that it should be a vote of the board and not just the chair. But you sign the purchase
Sure.
order.
The tricky piece becomes we meet every 2 weeks. Do we really want the board to meet every time somebody wants to spend something less than $500?
I think that it can fit within our regular schedule.
We can certainly bring it up if we want to wait 2 weeks for items.
Yeah.
This facilitates the smooth operation of the town. Lexa is the designated person for office supplies and the kinds of things going on. Keith Hazard is the designated, my designee, for purchases in conjunction with anything that goes on in the town garage.
I have a question, a procedural question. Hypothetically, if Judy and or Joel decide that they need to take a course that's $400, who pays for that? Is it paid for by Judy and or Joel, or is it paid for by the town?
If the select board feels that that's a effective use of the select board funding, then the select board would make a decision to do that.
The money comes from the town.
It's a budgeted item.
If they
So
want,
what we're really talking about is petty cash, mileage.
we're talking about is a budget that we strive to keep under control. And so, by keeping it under control, there are certain agents of me, as chair, in this case Keith and Lexa, who have the authority to do those kind of minor purchases that don't require us to go to the select board all the time. If anything major comes up, yeah, then we take it up.
No. What I'm saying is that if Judy decides that she needs to take a course in how to
Garbage
compact
disposal.
garbage or whatever, and it's $490, she's gonna call or email the board and say, I want to take this course, and you guys have the authority to say yay or nay. If it's yay, the town puts up the fee. And all she has to concern herself is petty cash putting in for her mileage. And maybe lunch, I don't know. So I'm not sure what you're really talking about. I can understand the whole process. If the town pays for it out of a whatever fund it comes out of, an educational fund for the select board people, it comes out of town funds. It's not like you have to reimburse Judy $450.
We in fact write the check to the agency.
I'm sorry?
We, the town, writes the check to the agency, not to Judy.
Right.
So Judy lets us know what she wants to do, where she wants to go, and the timing, and then Lexa, or Terry actually, it's unclear who actually signs checks around here, but anyway, one of them will cut a check. But it has to be coordinated with the treasurer and the budget. We can't just do it. We have to get it coordinated. We are spending taxpayers' money. It's not our money. And so
There's
we
a
have
fund for
procedures.
that. There's an
I
educational
don't think
fund.
we've got an education fund, do we?
We have the fund you just read about.
What fund?
We just had the procurement policy.
This is a procurement policy. It's not a fund.
Right.
This is how we buy and spend stuff.
What comes out of what though?
Well, this comes out of whatever the purchase is.
Right.
If Keith says $400 for something, it comes out of
That's what I'm getting at.
his fund.
Right, so
I don't think we have an
do what?
education fund here for us.
I believe there is in the
I-
budget.
I'll have to ask Terry tomorrow. I don't
I
know
mean,
how
it's
much-
nothing like complicating things, all right? Like I said, I went to a couple of those things, they happen to be free. If I thought I was gonna go to something that was gonna make me a better select person, I'm sure it would be okay to have the fee paid for and get reimbursed for mileage. I don't think we need, you can put something in writing if you want, but
I mean, it's just
But
been
we
a
generated, we
standard.
sent the check to the agency. You didn't need one, so you had to put it in afterwards. But if you needed one, for example, when an emergency management meeting
Right.
happens, Terry got a check to those guys for my attendance. It didn't come to me, it didn't go through me.
What I want to know, to boil it down, is who, let's say I do want to go about something about the dump. Who is it that's going to give me permission to do that?
Well, it's not that we give permission, it's
That's
just that the select board knows who's going where, basically.
Yeah,
Things are taking and how much money is being spent. It's our duty, I think, to be aware of what's being spent and things like that. It's
Okay.
just a courtesy, basically.
But let me make it even a little bit more narrow. And that is, I want to go. Do I come to Lexa? Do I go to Joel? Do I go to Paul? Who do I go to and say, there's a great conference and I really would like to go?
I mean, if you're at,
Who do I go to?
in the past, Paul has said, we've gone to a couple of things, right?
Yeah,
I'd like to, or I will be attending.
I've got something I'd like to
Just
attend.
at the end of the
at a
meeting,
board
when we-
meeting,
Okay, who gives permission?
it's, the board meeting just agrees that sounds great. It's
Sure.
just, it's not a motion or
Not
anything.
just one person, not just
No.
Paul.
No.
No,
Okay, that's what I was hearing.
no, no,
When he
no,
was
no.
talking about procurement.
No, it's
Is
the
that
whole
he's the
board.
one that okays it or doesn't okay it. For me, what happens is that I'm concerned about the power that's going into the chair. And for me, we are all equal in this
No,
particular
it's
group.
the whole board will know what's going
Okay.
on.
That's good, because I think
And
sometimes
that's the
I'm
way it's
worried
always been,
about
that's the way it's
where,
always
who
been.
is agreeing, or,
No, that's the way it always has been, even
Okay.
previously.
I think that's clear.
You know, somebody say, like you, say, I want to attend this meeting, it's in Montpelier, it's $60, and
Right.
could the treasurer make a check out to the LTC or whatever? And sure, you know, sounds great,
Yep.
enjoy it. Basically, that's.
So he
it's
doesn't
just-
have the nay or the yay.
Nobody does.
It's
So,
all of us.
so when do we decide what we accept as that's the way it's always been? And that's the way I want it now.
I don't know what we have to change.
We can do a small policy, we can
No, I'm
do
not
a very
talking
short.
specifically about this, because of what I've heard in conversations is, well, we can't do it the way we've always done it, we have to change it. And in the other conversation, like this one just now, you just said
I
that's the way
understand where
it's
you're coming
always
from,
been.
this is a,
So that's why I agreed with your motion, because whether or not it's always have been there should be a stipulation so that people don't have to beg to get an education from the select board.
well, you don't have to beg. So we'll do a policy. We won't go with the way it used to be.
Do you want to change our written policy or just amend it?
Well,
Well, there's a motion on the floor.
we
No,
can,
we're still discussing it.
What is the motion?
we adopt a policy, no member of this board shall make any binding financial decisions without a vote of the majority of the vote. But we don't have to have a vote, because if somebody wants to go, I make a motion that Judy can go, or Andy can go, or whoever. It's just that you're informing us that there's something going on, and it costs this much money, and yes, it's a good thing to do. It's just, I don't know what you want to call it.
It's one of those situations where it's civilly things have worked so smoothly, we haven't need to pick these things apart. But that particular item right there will vacate this.
No,
That
don't
would
do
mean-
that.
We don't want to do that.
We don't want to do that.
No, because if we do, then any single purchase has to go through a board selection
And that's not
it
gonna.
just you cannot run an office or for that
Okay,
matter, a
I
garage.
withdraw my motion.
Then there has to be a good faith way that this is done fairly for
Who
everyone.
seconded it?
Joel did.
if you withdraw your motion, then it's over with.
Oh, well, wait a minute, you can
That's
keep
correct.
talking about it if you want, but,
No, I don't want to.
No, if you withdraw your motion, it's over.
I would like to see us, come to the board, oh, okay, this is going on, because this next one that you signed up is not till September. And so you have ample time to come to the board, or at a board meeting, say, hey, this is going on, I'd like to do this. Okay, great, go Joe, have a good time.
Lots of times, I know we're done with this, but Paul, we used to go down at the end of the meeting before we thought we were gonna adjourn. Paul would ask, or the chair would ask, the past year, does anyone have anything to say? I might have something to say about some health officer thing, or Paul might say, I'm going up to Montpelier to take a select board chair course, or, that's where it would probably come up. That's when I would tell you.
Yep.
Now, I actually missed that when we used to go.
I think we
Yeah.
just
Went
kind of
right
forgot
after
about
the
it.
other.
We kind of,
And brought that up, because there are things that I just want to say about that doesn't need any voting. For example, 1 through 7. I just want that out in the public. Now that we are now recycling 1 through 7 plastic bottles and everything.
You're next on the agenda.
Oh, I got it, that part out.
All
So
right, so
that,
I
let
would-
me,
I would-
good
I
one,
would
we're,
vote this-
we're gonna stay with
this
the
motion.
adopted procurement policy.
Right, and hopefully that people will, if
And
they want to
civility.
go to course, we'll just say, okay, this is what's going on. We'll let Terry know,
Sure.
draw a check and send it to the people. If it's,
And we should understand that we have to pay attention to Terry's, she is the husband of the budget.
right, and she'll let us know when
She's
we run out
going
of
to
money.
keep track of that stuff, and we have to listen to her. Okay, moving on to the added agenda item. Judy,
Yes.
you have something about the town hall committee.
Yes, the Historical Preservation Society had its visit. And by the way, to pass on a really nice piece of news, we actually come in as a 1 for the way we are maintaining the building, this town hall. I thought that was really nice to hear. However, there are things that need to be done, and the one gutter in the front, it needs to be cleaned, weeds in the back, and painting on the back wall, and checking the slate. Those are the things. Now, these people very clearly watch what is happening to this building. And I found out that this, our town hall is very unique in that it's very historical and it's a prize for this area. We have one of the best historical buildings in, I guess, Windham County. So, with that in mind, we used to have the Art Council did some of this by kind of maintaining, letting us know. They have become a non-profit organization, not really connected as such with us. And what she was advising and what I agree with is that we really need to set up a committee of 3 people to really monitor the physical plant of the building, and to be able to come to us and say, the back wall really needs to be painted. And then we can deal with it, rather than just having it willy-nilly in terms of being observed. So what I would like to do is to try to set up, have the board set up a committee of 3 who have an interest in the historical building and would be willing to kind of monitor what's going on.
Did we not have a group that was doing that for a while?
Yes, and that was the Art Council group people.
And that's when Joe Brandis was on, and he did a lot of that.
Did he do a lot of that? Yeah. So, that's basically what I want to talk about. Now, if you want me to kind of go and try to figure out who some of these people were, with people coming to me with suggestions, I can do that and bring those names up at a later time, or the board can do this.
I wonder if the Historical Society might have some suggestions about who might be interested in that.
That's a good idea.
You know, see if there's somebody there who wants to be involved with that.
I
Yeah,
don't think you'll have any problem getting 3 people to be
yeah,
on
who
board.
have that kind of interest, yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea,
okay.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
that's really,
Good, thank you. There's one other thing, we kind of, got lost. There's the piece of the action on number 7. We have discussed, and I believe Lex wishes to discuss, the idea of forming a committee to, help us manage the Muzzy Fund, is that correct?
Yes, we talked about it at the last meeting. I hope everybody remembers. I kind of just, these are just a draft of the guidelines that we talked about, and hopefully if you read them all, and if you want to make any corrections or additions to it, this probably would be the time to do it. Do you want time to?
Did they go out, they were included in the minutes?
They're included in the minutes.
Yeah,
but
they were
it's
included in the
easier
minutes,
to-
I mailed it.
I thought it was easier to just,
what,
She
these,
did do a couple extra pages, yeah.
these rules,
Mm-hmm. And you said that you had some people who were willing to do
I
that?
do. And then on the second page were guidelines for the 3-person committee. And they'll know our guidelines too. And I was trying to think of a third one and I ran out of time. So if anybody has any other suggestions that they'd like to put on that for the 3-person committee, I
What
put
do you
request.
have, what do you have for the 2 people?
Lynette Rowena, I spoke with her and she doesn't know a lot of people, so she'd be very neutral. And
what is her name again?
Lynette Rowena, she lives in East Jamaica. And Bonnie West said she would do that. I don't know if it'd be a conflict if Steve was on it or not, but he said he would do it unless somebody else wants to.
I have another suggestion, Pat Mullins.
Okay, I think, because Pat's on your committee, right?
My committee is just a referral service
Referral,
for
right.
different services. And I think that Pat would be good on this committee because it would be in this committee's purview to send people to various services, and she would be well versed in it.
But I think what you just said though, if she's on the committee that's going to send people to the committee, she ought not to be on both committees.
Why?
Why? She's referring people to herself?
No.
This is a 3-person committee. It could be-
No.
I have 3.
That's not what I said. I said, we have formed an ad hoc committee to research available services for people in need. And we are not collecting money or distributing money. This 3-person committee that you're talking about refers to the select board to distribute money.
Correct.
Or if there's a more appropriate service, to refer them to another, such as SEPTA or Senior Solutions.
Correct, that's in there, yeah.
Right. So a person on that committee has the option to suggest that we go further with the Muzzy Fund, or more appropriately, go to a fund that provides firewood or that provides transportation. So that would be a liaison for this committee, to have, in effect, my committee, my ad hoc committee, as a reference, because that's all we're gonna be, is a reference.
I mean, I think, oh, Karen, I'm sorry, Karen's got one.
Well, I was just thinking, it does seem to make sense that you would have someone from another part of the town on the committee too. Just a thought, instead of having 3 from sort of down here, to have someone from up there, whether it's Pat or whether it's somebody else up there.
Has anyone talked to these 3
I
people?
I did.
You talked to these 3 people?
No, I talked to Pat.
Oh, I thought she asked if you talked to these 3 people.
No.
Well, in
I
our
did
meeting,
talk to Pat.
our special meeting, did we say a 3-person?
We did say 3-person.
We got 3 people
Mm-hmm,
that are willing?
that are willing.
What do we wanna make it for?
No, it should be an odd number.
Yeah, it should be an odd number.
Yeah.
I think you get 4 or 5 and then you're gonna just,
Yeah, then it gets too big.
It's just that person, that committee is gonna be dealing with one person at a time. So it doesn't really need to be so big. They'll have plenty of opportunity to research the person in question and make the necessary adjustments, referrals. Whether it's to us to administer funds from the Muzzy Fund, or whether it's SEFCA or some other organization.
I mean, I'm sure these 3 folks here also know about all this,
Why do you object to Pat?
I don't,
Why do you
I
object?
don't,
Nobody's
I'm
objecting
not
to
object,
Pat.
I'm not objecting to Pat, I'm not
We
objecting
don't
to
have them yet.
anybody.
We don't have them yet. We have 4 people now.
We have
And we've decided, we have 4, and we've decided this committee should be 3, so we have to choose from the 3.
Buxa has talked to and selected and had.
No, that's not an
Those are
option.
3 that would be
It's
interested.
not an option. It's not an option for one person to decide on something.
I'm not deciding on, no,
Oh, she
that
just
just
said the
names
names.
that,
Right, and
That-
that was a good suggestions, and I agree with most of the suggestions.
Who would you remove?
I don't know. We have 4 people in mind, let's pick 3.
I'd pick the 3 that she's already got.
Yeah, I know you would.
I think I would too.
I would too.
Okay.
Thank you. So,
If they've already said they wanna do it,
he said,
they,
then
but,
they change their minds.
and the good news is they've got a variety of experiences, and they all are fairly neutral people.
I would object to that. Silently.
Do we need to,
okay, do we have anything more that we wanna add to the guidelines for the 3-person committee?
I think you've done a pretty good
On
job.
page, I've only got 2, that request be in writing, resident, the town of Jamaica, and then
The
you
other-
can give them
Other 5.
the other 5.
Yeah.
Do you think
Could
that's,
Could you read those to us, Lex?
okay. Okay, for the 3 people,
No, I didn't.
that one you're okay with?
No, I just, the guidelines.
Yeah, guidelines, okay. Acute issues only, something that happens quickly, like such as a fire,
Right.
Illness or
an
something.
illness, something like that.
The one that I wanted to question was the one about helping people. I think that maybe you said that the person should go and go to the agency themselves. But there may be a case like, say, a fire, and the person may be so stressed out that they need somebody to help them. That was my, and
I'll
you
read the
can,
5 and tell you just kind of, the acute issues only, no reoccurring issues. Funds will not be paid to the individual unless circumstances warrant otherwise, like, it depends, like there was a fire and they needed clothing. You could always give them a gift card to the,
I thought you had a thing in there, because I read it from last week, where you said that if somebody wanted help, that they should make and you say you sent them to SEPCA, that they should
Okay, we-
do it on their own.
no.
And I think maybe,
That would be the committee.
huh?
The committee would be doing that. The committee would take all the information from the person and they would make a recommendation.
I just thought maybe that the people on that 3-man committee might want to go to the agency with them or call ahead and set it up, particularly if they were stressed. That's all I was getting at.
We
I
can
think
add that
that
to it.
was it.
We talked about that.
well, that would be something the committee would probably
Yeah.
That's
do on their own.
I would hope
Okay,
so.
all right, we'll put that as
Okay.
number 3.
Yeah, to pass that information on,
Do you
let's say
want-
to SEPCA.
All right, so,
Let's add number 3, a referral
okay, so for
to
the,
kind of
referral to
Grease the
existing
way,
agencies.
in other words, for them.
referral to.
Referral to existing agencies, that covers everybody who's already got stuff out. And your point is very well taken, 'cause we did talk about somebody who's under a great deal of stress or just doesn't know how to access the system.
Right.
Because sometimes the system can be overwhelming.
Or even embarrassed.
Exactly, or pointing in the right direction.
I mean, I think I would be a little bit tempted to call up SEPCA and try to,
Right.
on my own, so I think it would be,
Sure.
Okay,
Well, I
so,
have the sense that the committee, that these guys are gonna be able to do that.
so we can.
sure,
Yeah.
okay.
Referral to existing agency with the assistance of the committee. Does
Well-
that sound okay?
Sure.
So they can set them in the right track, get them organized.
I personally have no problem with these things operating in parallel. If Joel's committee wants to be proactive and help you connect to SEVCA and neighborhood,
Yeah.
connections, the other agencies, I think that's fine, that's a great asset for the community to help somebody make those connections. But this committee is just really kind of narrowly looking at the Muzzy Fund, not all the other agencies. So to have this committee do that, I think it's a great idea. And I think that this committee may in time find working parallel with Joel's committee to be a real winner to help people. I think that's a great idea.
Well, the Muzzy Fund is basically for emergencies, and there are a lot of issues that are ongoing, not emergencies.
Exactly.
But need to be dealt with to someone who's not capable of going further with wherever he is. So the Muzzy Fund is, as we're stating it, for emergencies.
And basically, that's what it was, I believe, it was for children 21 and under. So we're changing that whole aspect from just children 21 and under to look at the whole picture, look at an individual that needs assistance, and make sure that,
That might, by the way, I was told that night, not hold up in court.
What?
Limiting by age or gender might not.
No, but would you-
oh, that was done a long time ago. We're
Even
not,
that-
we're
yes,
not
but-
doing that.
But you're not allowed to do something that's currently illegal, even if it was based on something a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't know, I'd have to check with council, I don't know that for sure. But we're changing that.
We're gonna do the best we can to follow the directions.
Right,
of
to
the
follow the
requester.
directions of what
Requester.
Alan's great-grandfather
Sure.
wanted.
What was that question?
We're gonna put in the right word, bequeather, requester, I never know what the word is, but anyway, the person who made the request.
Okay, and then it'll be, all right, acute issues only, no reoccurring issues, funds will not be paid, will not be paid to the individual unless circumstances warrant otherwise. We'll look at everything, we won't just, just be blinded. Funds to be dispersed by the select board, they will have the final say. The three-person committee will interview the recipient and report to the select board with their recommendation. Unless somebody else has something else they want to add to it.
Not me.
I think this covers the parts.
Because I think at the last meeting, we did approve the guidelines, and they were based on this here. So we don't have to have a motion on that, and the guidelines for the three-person is just a following through with this one here. I don't know if I'm out of line. Let's see, are we supposed to run this by our attorney first to make sure that we haven't missed
Make
anything?
sure we didn't do something
Okay,
wrong.
so we can get that to him tomorrow.
Mhm.
We'll have an answer back within a day or two. And then if we can get this all approved and it's good, then we can go on to, I believe, Joel's motion. And I don't think it will, I think by waiting, it's not going to,
You said you wanted to discuss this in executive session.
yeah, I'm not gonna name names or anything like that. If somebody thinks this has to go next, I'm trying to make it, I'm not gonna,
You're talking in
Single out.
generalities, we're not talking specifics.
Right.
Correct.
so we'll get this all done, all set, all ready to go. At our next when is our next meeting? Where are we? July 24th. Possibly if people are available, maybe we could have a special meeting, just that one item. A motion to expend X amount of dollars.
We need to give the committee time to meet. and
I
provide-
think this one, I think this is what
Our
you're not.
conversation, are you willing to wait and let what I suggested happen?
Wait, I lost you somewhere along the line.
In view of the information I gave you, are you willing to let this wait till 3 days before the deadline? Or longer?
Okay, I think this might be a time to go into executive session.
Right.
Can we do that?
If you want to make a motion.
Okay, I'd like to enter into executive session.
A motion for executive session, do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of entering executive session for the matter of discussing this particular guideline? Aye?
Now, is this for this particular guideline, or is this for this
She made the
particular
motion.
It's for
person?
this guideline and how we're going to proceed with the motion that you had requested. I just want to take care of it all right now. I've got some information that I'd like to share with everybody that might help take care of this in an expedited way. Does that make sense?
So you're in
Okay.
the middle of a vote.
Are you asking, yeah, we put in a vote for,
To go
but she
into-
withdrew that, so now the motion is what?
Just to go into executive session to discuss,
Yeah.
Okay, in concert with that, and this is gonna be weird, but
I know,
here's the deal. This is not on the agenda. So, in order to add it to the agenda at this stage, I need an affirmative vote of the select board members
oh, that's what we're
to
doing.
add this particular item to the agenda. The item being a particular individual's request for funds from the Muzzy Fund.
I make that motion.
We just need approval, we just.
I'll
Yep.
I'll second it.
Second to overturn, to add that. Okay, so we have two that wish to add this item to tonight's agenda.
Okay, so.
What about public concerns?
Well, that's gonna be tricky, because that wasn't on the agenda.
I'm not for executive session on this.
Okay, so that's one.
You know, can I say why?
Sure, please.
The committee's gonna go into effect, once Paul looks at what we've done, we're gonna get an answer back. Let the committee do what they, let people apply or whatever. Why do we have to do all this? Why do we have to do this right now?
Because there's information that's pertinent,
Well, I was thinking that since
and there
this
is
has
a
been going
deadline.
on for a little bit, maybe in this case, if we get our guidelines in order, we already know the circumstances, and we don't have to put it through the committee, and we can handle this one circumstance at this one time.
Like we did before already.
Yes.
But we didn't have
I'm
the
not gonna
guidelines.
argue that
But
we were
we-
out of line because,
But we didn't have the guidelines, and we need the guidelines in order
Okay.
to proceed.
fine,
So that somebody can't come back and say, well, you did this for this one, you did that one for that one. I wanna make sure we're doing it all correctly.
well, you kind of, I mean, we're gonna have the attorney look at it first, and now it doesn't matter, so.
Well, no, we're gonna have the attorney look at
No,
it too. No,
We can act.
Okay, we'll do it then.
We have a choice of
I've changed my mind.
following the guidelines or ignoring the guidelines and moving forward let me rephrase that, following a legally sanctioned set of guidelines or just doing the guidelines as we've decided. With that,
Go
move to
ahead
the
into
attorney.
executive session.
I don't know.
Go ahead. I'll go, I vote, okay.
Are we going into, and what is the reason?
Because he says he has information that he wants to discuss in executive
And I
session.
have some
That
too.
the two of them have information. It's not pertaining to anything on the agenda, which is why we have to have a
And
motion.
there will not be
You have to
a,
read that disclaimer.
there will not be a,
Probably.
decision, a vote at the end of this.
Now, I would offer this, if I might, that we continue with the agenda
And then go
as
to
designed,
amendments and
do the
everybody vote.
executive session after we give
Right.
time for public
Okay.
concerns.
I agree.
Is that agreeable to everyone?
Yes,
Yes.
okay,
Thank you.
all right.
So, the motion that you will make, we're going to withdraw that motion.
Drop for now.
Exactly, we'll go into executive session
Okay.
afterwards.
Okay.
Let us now go to number 10, time for public concerns, and I believe you had a public concern that I suggested we would address at this time.
I have no public
Anyone else? Hello? Yes, your hand went up first.
Thanks. I just wanted to remind you guys that the planning commission is still working hard on our town plan, and that I'm available for any comments or questions, and that at your next meeting, I have sent you an email, actually just now, I know you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but requesting that we be on the agenda to discuss one of the sections we'd like to talk about, the water and wastewater section of the town plan.
Okay. Did you send us a copy of that section? Because it was really helpful that we had that before.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, good.
I will do that, yes. Okay, that's all, thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think a mountain is being made out of a molehill with this. The select board has the decision, has the,
Which, this is a week ago, there's been a
this is
lot
on
of
7.
mountains
This is
and
on the
molehill.
person that is looking for some money, for some help. The Muzzy fund is there. The select board has the opportunity, or is able to make the decision. I would think just like that, you could make the decision, you're all aware of this. There's a time limit, and you should just be able to.
This isn't
To do
actually
that.
town business, this is fulfilling. a
But it is
request.
town business because the select board is.
It doesn't affect the town though, it affects.
No, it does not. You're not talking any tax dollars.
Having said
You're just
that,
making,
any decision that we make, especially financial decisions with donated funds, constitutes town business.
it does, yes. I forgot where I was
I'm
going
sorry.
with that. I lost it. Anyway, I also think if Vermont League of Cities and Towns has a course on how to have the select board work together, maybe you should take one.
I'll second that.
We'll take that under advisement.
Okay.
Any other, yes, anybody else? Any hands?
I'll third that. Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep that, it's all under advisement.
Being a young adult, I'm kind of ashamed to watch this, so.
Well, this has never happened before.
No, this is all new.
I've been on
We
for a
used to do
long
that.
time, and it has never happened before.
Well, you may make prime time now.
I do not wish.
Not that we want prime time.
So if there are no more, if there are no more,
I have one,
public concerns,
I have one thing. In driving along the roads, I've noticed there are two things, that there's a tremendous proliferation of knotweed.
Of what?
Knotweed,
Oh.
which is very invasive. It grows mostly along rivers and streams, and there are guidelines in places to deal with it. It should be cut down frequently, so if it's cut down frequently enough, it will die, or at least some of it hopefully will. The other thing I've noticed is that along the sides of the roads now, maybe tenfold what I've seen last year, is wild parsnip.
It's everywhere.
And wild parsnip is extremely skin toxic. Much worse than poison ivy. And we should be aware of it. It looks like Queen Anne's lace, except it's like a yellow-green instead of white. It's all over the place. It's on my property. It's all over the place. So people should be aware when handling this that it's kind of dangerous, especially to children.
probably it would not be a bad time to point out that we have been trying to get the contract for mowing for some time now. We've only had one bid. We are still trying to solicit some more bids to get that stuff mowed.
Is that the stuff on the dirt roads that are growing?
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
You know what Queen Anne's lace looks
Yeah, I
like?
do, no,
It's-
but
But it's not.
I was going to bring that up, that every year about this time, we do have somebody who comes along on all of the dirt roads and cuts down. It's really, really high now so that you can't see around the bends.
We've been trying,
Traffic,
I know Keith's been working on it, we've been working on it.
okay.
We've
So
made
you've been
phone
working
calls
on it, okay.
and we're not,
Popular job.
yeah, we're having difficulty getting somebody to do the job.
Okay,
And I made another phone call today to somebody who bid on it previously, who lost the bid last year because it was way out of line money-wise. But we're running out of options here, so we're trying to get that addressed. It is being worked.
yeah, good.
It is being worked.
Any plans to cut the roads back, West Jamaica roads growing in?
What do you mean? You mean widening them?
No, I mean the trees that just, in these, the branches need to be cut
The
back.
answer to that was yes, Keith. Because I know, West Jamaica, you're talking about the canopy itself.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it's just filling in.
It's weather, I mean, it's happening in my
Yeah.
yard everywhere.
Yeah.
I heard, your rescue went by my lilac bushes the other night, I was
Oh, yeah.
called down the park, I was like, what the hell was that? And I looked at them and they had just reached
It's because it's
this
so wet.
spring over,
Yep.
and I looked at the rest of the property.
The forest is taking over.
That wasn't a complaint, that was just,
Sure.
I
Oh,
noticed
solid.
that when I came down.
It's all over the
Yeah.
place.
I got your, from the resident conversation, your message, so. I think we need to, about putting things on the agenda and picked up on that. Sorry.
Not a problem. Are we, the audience is quiet, so back to the motion, yes, sir? Oh, no, go ahead, yes, I'm sorry.
Was there a motion, so?
Well, we go into executive session.
Well, no, there's just some information that maybe, there, about, something I brought to the board as health officer about the property on Edie Lane. Without getting into it all, it's all been resolved
Good,
and documented. And it's safe.
good, thank you.
It took a while, but.
Yeah, you put a lot in it.
And, no, the owner of the property did.
Mhm.
Was lucky there, a very cooperative property owner.
Excellent, thank you.
That's it. And, oh, wait a minute. I want to thank the road foreman and the select board for fixing the bridge on Depot Street. They paved the deck. And it's
Looks
just
like-
the most beautiful bridge in Wyndham County now.
We're hoping it'll last,
You won't end up.
10 years. it might.
I actually do have some information about bridges, because I was at the transportation meeting today, and I presented the case that we fixed that bridge, and that the iron bridge was really deteriorating pretty rapidly.
It's quickly.
Some
Yeah,
of
it's the
the
decking.
decking has been bouncing around and come
Right,
up.
they were checking it today.
And Erica Roper is going to come and meet with me here, and anybody else who wants to meet with her, and talk about alternative financing, hazard mitigation financing. Because this is the second project on the schedule, which means 2 to 5 years.
Right.
And that bridge isn't gonna be there in 5 years.
Somebody's moved out of the way of a car in the 2-inch strip that's coming all undone on the, like the ties or whatever, the planking. There's just 8 or 16 penny nails sticking in there.
Yeah, Rich was taking care of that today.
Yeah.
It's just, the last time I looked at it, it's doubled and
Well,
Right.
it's the traffic.
Well, I
and
spoke
everything.
to Terry about it, and she speculates that people in motorhomes don't realize or don't care that they're over 8 tons.
they don't know.
Right.
And
They're not supposed to.
the fire department won't send trucks over that bridge.
That floated very fast.
That floated very fast.
Yes.
It's also affecting the state park quite a bit
Yeah,
also,
sure.
with their deliveries, and they're finding it hard to
When I was,
function, and they bring a lot of money to this town.
Yeah, they do.
when I was sharing the last session of Lou's membership on that committee, we talked about the possibility, because the Army Corps of Engineers is planning to repair the foot of the dam, which is seeping. And they're gonna have to build a bridge to get there, because that bridge won't carry the load. And they'll probably spend $500,000 building that temporary bridge. And we had brought up that meeting, and I brought it up again today, to do more research on maybe there's money available from the state park and from the Corps of Engineers to make one bridge instead of 2. So those are things that we're talking about right now.
I
That's
mean, that
good.
makes more sense, but
They can't get ice
Totally
deliveries very
expensive.
well,
Right.
or the trash, they had to come up with a totally different way to do that. But what about oil trucks for the people that live over there?
They're exempt, aren't they?
Oil
For weight exemptions, I think
But
they
it
are.
seems like it's getting worse.
The conversations we've had with them is that they generally save those guys till the end of their day, so they go with their.
with the lighter
Pretty
load.
light.
The lightest load.
Yeah.
Yeah, they certainly don't want not fall.
Yeah.
No, because that's their responsibility if they fall through.
Jesus, put a clean up.
Spark.
Yeah.
I think it's still safe to walk over it.
So, any further? If not, there was a motion earlier, so I'd like to read a motion.
Make a motion that we go into executive session
For the purpose
for
of.
the purpose of the Muzzy Legacy Fund.
Second that motion.
Wait a minute,
No,
no, wait a minute.
not yet.
For information
Pertaining to
pertaining to
an upcoming decision.
upcoming decision regarding the Muzzy Legacy Fund.
That works for me.
I still second,
Even if it works for me.
yes,
Amazing.
especially.
All in favor?
Oh, God, you guys are gonna be buddies. Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody abstain? We will enter executive session. There will not be a decision to announce on the camera, so you don't need to hang around. And then we will, give us about 5 minutes, let me clean up.